Hello, ladies and gentlemen. In this video, I got a special treat for you. I had the pleasure of having a in-depth conversation with the beast of ecom, aka Arie, who is an incredible e-commerce entrepreneur that most of you may know about. And if you don't know about him, then today is going to be even more special for you. So Arie has done over 8 figures in e-commerce, and he's been an e-com legend for a pretty long time, even though he stayed pretty low key. So in this conversation, we talk about his journey, we talk about some of his personal life, some of his investments, strategies, tips for beginners, so many different things that I'm sure you guys are going to find valuable. So let's get right into it. However, if you do want to support the channel, if you want to support these conversations, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out some of our links in the description, such as our free Shopify link, for example. So with that said, let's hop right into the conversation. Are you usually like a night owl, or do you usually wake up really early?
So yeah, like I used to. I think this stems from like when I used to work 9 to 5 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be I used to work and then come home, sleep, nap, eat, and then work on stores from like 8 p.m. to like 1, 2, sometimes 3 in the morning. And I just kind of like developed to that night owl regiment, and I think it kind of sticks with me. When at
Yeah.
night time, it's like there's nothing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Headphones in, you can just really just zone in. Whereas in the daytime, I kind of like struggle. Not to say that I don't get work done, but I find it easier to work at nighttime. I just find
That's
it a little
funny.
bit more better, man.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Sometimes at night, I just get some great ideas and I'm just like stuck on my computer, and it's like, I get a lot done, but it's like I can't sleep as well. So it's a
Yeah,
double-edged
yeah.
sword. For the people that are listening, this is Arie, otherwise known as Beast of Ecom. You guys have probably heard of this guy. If not, then you will after today. And I doubt you'll be disappointed. So you're kind of a legend around this space, to be honest with you. I feel like I remember exactly when you started making YouTube videos, and I was like, whoa, like this guy's crazy. Like this guy's actually like, kind of a top dog in the space, but you're really
Thank
low
you, man.
key, and you're still pretty low key, I would say. So if you wouldn't mind, like, how long ago was it that you started posting videos, and then how long ago was it that you even began running an online business?
Yeah, sure. So like I first started dropshipping in the late 2016s, but only started to have success. So I came across dropshipping. It was like I think it was like December time in 2016, but didn't run anything significant or have any results until 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So I was dropshipping throughout 2017, but I didn't start my YouTube channel until May. I think it was like mid-May 2018. So I was dropshipping for about a year and a bit before I actually started posting online and stuff like that. So yeah, I had some experience, and the reason why I done it was because back then there wasn't that much information on YouTube, and the
Mm-hmm.
information that was on YouTube was fairly basic. And at that time, again, I was doing like 6 figures a month, and there was only really like basic content online at that point. So I thought to myself, you know what, let me just jump in,
Yeah.
let me just share the value that I had with people because I was doing things that were working, and just share what was working and what wasn't working. And yeah, that's kind of just how it all just came about. And the name, I don't know how I even came across the name, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was just
Beast of
like one of those
Ecom.
things. It was like, yeah, and it rings. Like I was like,
It does.
how the hell did I even think about that? Because at first I think I was going into like Wolf of Ecom or something retarded like that, and that didn't stick. And I was just like, nah. And then something just clicked, and I said, I sent out. I ended up hiring a thumbnail designer, no, a designer for the actual logo, which I'll
Oh.
still be. I kind of use to this day, but I've kind of
That's funny
transitioned
because I
away from it
remember
just
it. Like
now.
I'm telling you, I remember vividly when like I saw your videos and then I saw your channel. I remember you did like a free training for a while, and I was like, man, this guy. Like at the time, I feel like I was just starting to learn about design and branding, and I was just all over the place. Like my channel was a mess. Like my stores were kind of a mess, but it just worked because like it just wasn't as important back then. There wasn't a lot of competition. But when I saw you, I was like, whoa, okay, so this guy is like a step ahead in terms of branding design, like just based on what I saw on your YouTube channel. So I'm just curious, did you like what were you doing before ecom? Did you ever have any sort of like design background, or because I see you have a very specific aesthetic?
Yeah, so I didn't actually, and the weird thing like me is like I don't want to say I'm a perfectionist, but I'm one of these people who when I see something, I want to do something, I want to make sure it's done the correct way. Like if I
Mm,
put something out and something's wrong, it'll just annoy me. Or if if I'm and it'll be super minute things. And this is even when it comes down to like testing products online, like removing a certain thing in a picture. If I don't like the look of it, I'll just you know get cropped out or do the tool that removes it essentially. So before ecom, I used to work 9 to 5 jobs, and I've worked many different 9 to 5 jobs from cleaning toilets to stacking warehouse work, wrapping pallets to some office work here and there. But in terms of like design and anything like that, I didn't have any experience in that. But I'm one of these people, sorry, who just likes to get stuck in and learn something myself before I even think about outsourcing something. And that stuck with me and done really well throughout everything. So like I've learned Photoshop. I'm not a
mm.
master at all with Photoshop, but I know how to use and know how to do the basics, right? I'm assuming you probably do as well.
Hmm.
Same with like editing your videos. I didn't know how to edit my videos. The first few videos I edited it myself rather than thinking, let me just jump on Fiverr and try and find someone or outsource it. At that point, I actually learned Premiere Pro myself. Again, they weren't, they were really basic, just clips together. But yeah, I just like to stuck in and learn something myself to get a grasp of what it is that needs to be done to a certain level, and then think about either outsourcing it or hiring someone to do it.
Wow. Yeah, that makes total sense. I think that's actually like a very important concept that some people, especially nowadays, because there's so many different marketplaces that you can hire people for. There's so many people, so many agencies, so many, everything. I feel like it's super easy to just think, you know what, I'll just hire everything out and then I'll do it. So I don't, like people don't want to work. They don't want to do anything. So my next question is, for context, you've done like 8 figures plus when it comes to e-commerce and drop shipping. What do you think, let's say starting fresh, right? Like for people literally right now, how would you start over? Like if you had to start over, what would you do? Would you even do drop shipping? Like would you start the same way or what would you do?
But the game has changed a lot over the years, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've witnessed it. A lot of people have witnessed it. What was working in 2017 and 18, is not going to work now. General stores, that you could slap up with a random logo, random copy and paste like descriptions will not work today, and you will burn through money if you even try and dream of doing that. Same with like spam testing products. Like if you try and do that in 2023, you will just lose money. It doesn't make any sense to do so. Yet people still kind of like preach that I'll just test 10 products a week, you'll be good. But like if you're just testing 10 products a week without no real effort into that, you will just burn money and lose it. So in terms of like back in the day, obviously there wasn't any TikTok organic, and now obviously the power is. I know people still say you can dropship with no money, but realistically, you need some form of money to be able to
Right.
dropship. You don't need a lot of money to dropship or to get started because again, the barriers to entry with getting started is extremely low, especially with TikTok organic. So personally, me, if I was to start from like lose everything tomorrow, I would do is I would first and foremost go and apply for a job. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear that,
Yeah.
but you have to have some sort of money and capital coming in. Now, with that being said, from that, what you would then do is you can use that excess capital to funnel your ads. And again, organic is great, but it's not the be all and end all. And I know organic is great, but it first and foremost, it takes a long time to test products,
Mm-hmm.
right? To validate them. And second of all, you're a slave to the algorithm because, over time, once algorithms crashed, then alternatively, you can't really scale on them. And you're hoping and praying that algorithm shows it to the right people as well.
Right.
That's another thing with organic. I would start with organic to start off with, but it wouldn't be where I would put all of my focus in. It would literally just be so that I have the starting capital to be able to and have the capital to be able to then run ads. So yes, I would start with organic TikTok dropshipping, find a product. I've got no money, so I'm using my time to create videos, blah blah blah. Get some first sales. The margins are great, of course, but then from then it would be a case of building capital, so then I can test more rapidly with
Yeah.
ads. That's what I would do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice. And also, I feel like the ad platforms are actually making it easier. Like, especially Meta, for example, now, a lot of people are sleeping on it. because TikTok is like the latest buzz, but it seems like it just feels easier than ever in terms of actually they're making it more user friendly than before. So if you put in the effort on the creative side of things, like the website side of things, it seems like actually that's probably where your focus should be, and just like the right product, making sure everything is tidy. So that's really great advice, and I think being a perfectionist probably helped you, or at least somewhat of a perfectionist probably helped you in that way at the very beginning.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The first ads that I ran were trash. Like the first store that I ever run was trash. Like it took me like $800 to get my first ever sale, and I was selling like nail products. I don't know why I went down that route, but I think it was because they were super cheap on AliExpress. I thought to myself, you know what? Let me test them out because they're cheap. I can't really go wrong. But no one was really passionate about them. My ads sucked and everything like that. And even going back, if I look like 2 years ago at some of the stuff that I was selling, some of the ads and those kind of things 2 years ago, even those I wouldn't dream about selling and doing those to this day because I know they're not up to the level. I think some people need to understand is that what you create now will not be what you will create in the next 2 to 3 years. But you have to spend time in the trenches before you can even get to where it is you want to be. And there's a saying like if you already knew what you like, well, if you already knew essentially if you possessed all of the skills and all of those things, you would be where you want to be.
Hmm.
But you don't have them now, and a lot of beginners kind of like forget that people have been in the game for a long period of time and they've failed multiple times for them to be able to pull off like these YouTube videos. I
Yeah.
made that. I went from 0 to 10K a day in 7 days. Like, cool, it makes a clickbaity headline, but you got to remember that a lot of people just don't pop up overnight, and you don't see the failures. And it's kind of one of those things that happens with social media anyway. A lot
It
of
is.
people only post their wins and they don't post their losses. But you have to go
Yeah.
through the hours to get to the wins, right?
Yeah, that's so true, bro. I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I think a lot of people, and I mean, I even catch myself doing that. Like, I'll be like, all right, I'll set like a crazy goal. I'll be like, all right, I'll make 10 million this year. And then it's like, okay, well, let's just focus on like the small steps, right? Like, I feel like that happens to a lot of beginners since they see all the flash. They're like, okay, well, I'm going to make $1 million doing this. And, it'll it's almost like it automatically makes them comfortable. Like, just thinking that they can do that right away, it automatically puts them in a state of comfort, and then they never do anything. And then it's like, a year later and nothing's gotten done. You're in like the same place. So that's an interesting thing. How do you manage like being comfortable? Because obviously you've made it to a point now where, you're basically financially free. Like, obviously you probably won't need to work a 9 to 5 ever again. So how do you manage that? Like, do you spend a lot of money? Like, what's your lifestyle like?
Nah, dude. Well, you could probably tell, but anyone who follows my social media will never see like flashy Lambos and all the typical the guru kind of stuff because you're essentially just chasing like you're keeping up for the masses and essentially same with like I went through but one thing that people have to remember is that you will go through a phase of when you start to make money you will spend it as quickly as you get it, and I think everyone goes through that phase, and it's important that you do go through that phase because you become a little bit more financially savvy with your money, right? I'd rather put $500 into a stock rather than spend $500 on a designer t-shirt. Now it doesn't
Hmm.
make any sense for me because I've kind of like gone past that phase. So yeah, I'm not really like flashy at all. um I just rather invest and once you've kind of like made money, then you're in the minds the mindset of trying to first and foremost acquire more and keep more in
Yeah.
terms of like taxes and those kind of things. And then second of all, trying to do multiplication on that and preserving it so that you're not losing it and not just, spunking money here and there on random stuff. So yeah, that's the kind of like stage that I'm currently at and just being a little bit more savvy. But anyone who's watching this who's that's just coming from me,
Right.
but don't get me wrong, I've been through the phases of just getting things, flashy lifestyle, all that kind of stuff. And I think, you should go through it. It's always good because one thing I think is that as entrepreneurs, we don't get medals, we don't get awards, you don't get anything like that like athletes do. So one thing I recommend to people is when you do have your first kind of success, purchase something which don't go overboard with things, but purchase something which is physical that means a lot to you that you can look back on when times are hard. Because like what happens is there will inevitably come times when things aren't going your way. You know, you might have
Yeah.
a few months where your ads are just totally shit, or you're not finding a winning product, or things are just down, pay bans, whatever it may be, and you'll start to question yourself. But when you have that one physical thing that you've purchased, knowing that you've achieved the goal, find that you can refer back on that and know that you can achieve absolutely anything when you put your mind and hard work and effort into it. So yeah, that's just a little piece of advice that has stuck with me, and I think it would help out a lot of viewers watching this.
I remember you mentioning that a while ago, and that really helped me out. Even just like, kind of making like mindful splurges with like the intention of like rewarding yourself for your hard work, not just like to be frivolous. That's a really helpful piece of advice, I would say. So I'm curious, like, what have you been up to these days? Are you still starting new stores? Are you developing your stores, or how's your team looking like? Like, I'm just curious about that stuff.
Yeah, man. So still in the game, still running stores, still doing what I need to do.
Nice.
I last year I actually started a product research tool that I was working with, partnered with a developer on that, and
Cool.
that took up quite a bit of time. With SaaS, it's like like you think dropshipping is consistently like changing, or e-commerce and stuff's changing, but honestly, when you try to develop a SaaS, it's like never ending. Some things are just, there's always something popping up. So I was working on that for a while, and we're still in the process of doing that. I just haven't had enough time to dedicate to promoting that, but that was in the works. I got my obviously education company as well. And yeah, just building stores, bro. Like not I've really stripped back because last year I had like 5 stores running, and it just got a bit too like OTT
Mm-hmm.
when in terms of like teams, and so I really looking to scale it back, and took Chinese New Year, scale things back. In January I usually take a little bit slower anyway, because it's usually a quiet month.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just kind of like, again, pushing the stores, stripping those back, and pushing them as high as we possibly can. And also, it took me a long time to do it, but pushing more of my personal branding out. So short form, I know that you've been heavy on the short form stuff
Yeah.
across the TikToks and IG Reels and stuff, and it took me a long time. God knows, I don't even know why, but to actually start filming content and just putting out bite-sized videos, because I think
Yeah,
people familiarize themselves with these bite-sized,
they
content,
do.
and everyone's like attention spans are next to nothing anyway. And so yeah, I spent Chinese New Year just pumping out content. So I've got a loads of those that are coming out on different platforms. So
Oh,
I'm
that's gonna
excited
be
for that.
great. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. I'm sure maybe like it's part of your perfectionism that kind of prevented you from doing that. Because for me, I'm like, it's like I have a similar side of me where it's like I love aesthetically pleasing things. Like I love designing things in a way that just like, I don't know, appeal to my eye. But
Mm.
at the same time, I'm also just like, I just love to be shooting shots. You know what I mean? Like, so I remember with TikTok, I was like, okay, I'll just pick, like, I made a video. I was like, okay, I'll just pick the phone up and make, like, talk what I just talked about on YouTube, but in like 60 seconds. And I just made it quick, like, nothing fancy. And that went, like, pretty viral. So I was like, okay, this works. But I think that's awesome. So, how about for your stores? Are you still just mainly focused on ads, or do you do a mix of ads and organic?
So I still prefer ads, mainly because it's just been my bread and butter, and I'm kind of stubborn in that sense as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was about 2 years ago. So like 2020, in the start of 2020, one of my largest business managers got banned.
Mm-hmm.
2020 was the year of the election. Was it the year of the elections? Was it?
Yeah,
Or was it the year before? I can't remember. There was one year
it was.
where
I think it was the
it
elections.
was like there was one year anyway when like bands were just going through the motions. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was kind of like really set back on that. So I thought to myself, you know what? Let me just try and figure out TikTok. And it's a very intuitive platform to use,
Mm-hmm.
and we got some okay results with it. But I was personally finding that just the creators were just burning out way too quickly, and I was like, "Ugh, this is just, it works." And again, even to this day, there's plenty of guys who are absolutely crushing it on TikTok, but I just personally like to focus on paid ads. And again, to this day, I still run ads on the stores because I like it, I enjoy it, and I don't think there's any better feeling when you find something that works and when it clicks, when you have a creative and an audience, an offer that works. Just scaling it and seeing the numbers go in, just it's just unmatched. It's just like kind
It
of like a
is.
euphoric feeling. Yeah. So I still enjoy that, but again, organic. You have to take advantage of organic, and it's not something that I'm personally doing at the moment in time. But anyone who's watching this who is on a lower budget, take advantage of it as you can, because trust me, the algorithms will change, and it may not be this year, it may not be next year, it may be 3 years time, but yeah, TikTok organic at some point will die down, and there will be something else.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I also think, I mean, naturally the platforms almost kind of want to appeal more to paid ads in terms of reach. Like it feels like the platforms are every year they strip away organic reach a little bit. So even though short form content right now it's like popping off, like you said, I mean, next year it could be half of that, and then the year after a quarter of that. And what I love most about paid ads is kind of what you said. Like, there's no better feeling than when you're like scaling an offer, and it's like you almost don't have to do anything, right? So you're almost just like sitting there, and like it's just kind of like printing money in the background. So I'm curious, how much would you say you work on your businesses, like on average? Like I'm just saying on a regular day, like what is your workflow like?
So I'm still all in, and I can't switch off anyway. Like
Yeah.
even if it's like just doing product research or just scrolling Facebook ads library, doing keyword research to try and find something which could be the next offer or the next product that I could flip in a different market, whatever it may be. So,
Mm,
or even if it's just like reading a copywriting book that I know that I can take some small nuggets outside of that and implement inside of my stores. And I'll give you an example actually for anyone watching this is I've been reading a lot of copywriting books, and you never want on like your product description after every single section, like the way we set things out, we like to have like the image, title, etc., and then the product description, next benefit, etc. So like if, what I've recently been doing, making some changes, is having not having the last line something that people could just stop reading off. So for
mm,
example, in one of the products we'd have like blah 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 about this product X, Y, and Z, and then the last sentence would be saying, "But wait, there's more." And then what people naturally have to do then is scroll to see what the next thing is. And ultimately, when it comes down to copywriting and when you're reading something, naturally you never want to land on a like leave your sentence where someone can essentially just stop and read it at that point. Where if you keep leaving cliffhangers at the end of every single, not every single sentence, but at the end of every single section, then people continue to read more, and the more they read, the more likely they're going to be influenced to purchase the products. Now it's very minute, but
mm.
yeah, that's just one thing that I like to do. Again, is just consuming information, but I'm still all in. So in order, like to answer your question, it's still like 10-hour days, like 11-hour days. It may not
Yeah.
just be looking inside of Ads Manager, but it'll just be different things. Like maybe I'm doing research in terms of having a look at what the latest trends are, or the next YouTube idea that I need to do, or scripting
Hmm.
something, or So yeah, it's still it never really you never really turn off in this
Yeah.
game. You just always in the trenches.
That's cool though. I actually like that because I think a lot of people, they don't put in the 10,000 hours, you know what I mean? And like, even though that's common knowledge that like in order to master anything, you got to continue to put in the work. And I see a lot of people pivoting away from, what got them somewhere in the first place. And I'm not saying that's wrong. Like, obviously, everyone has a different story. But I admire that a lot. I think that shows a lot of determination. What, so you've been consistent with this for a while, but with AI and like crypto, all these different trends that have popped up over the years, have you been tempted to kind of pivot away from what you're doing at all?
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I tried crypto. It was okay, but I got burnt in the whole Luna situation.
Mm,
So yeah, that was unfortunate. I didn't lose a crazy amount, but it
still
happens, and
stings.
I still managed to bridge some over, and lost a bit of UST. UST was starting to pivot and go down, and I thought, yeah. So I lost a bit of on the crypto side of things. Again, I wish I probably would have put more time and effort into the crypto side of things, but obviously we've only got 24 hours in a day, and a lot of people made a ton of money, but they didn't sell, and they've lost a ton of money already. Like now, NFTs, again, I didn't really put that much effort into NFTs either, but with the whole AI side of things, it's something which I'm using to leverage inside of the business, inside of
Yeah.
the e-commerce. And I think that's going to be the next wave in terms of how it's gonna get rid of a lot of people's jobs.
Yeah.
Like you can literally do anything with ChatGPT. And again, this is just like we're in 2030, like well, we're in 2023 right now. This is just like the first iteration of like this is like the first iPhone right now.
Yeah, it's
You know,
just the
so
beginning.
you think about like ChatGPT 0.90 or some shit. Like it can only get better. And what happens with technology is it just compounds all of the time because it can learn at a lot more faster rate than us as humans. So
Hmm.
I'm super stoked for the AI revolution. And I personally think anyone who isn't willing to at least leverage tools like ChatGPT inside of their business is either stupid or they're just ignorant because they're not. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
It's not a magic pill, right? It's not gonna. And I see loads of videos out there saying, hey, just tell it to write your product description and it will do it. It won't, because ultimately it relies on your prompts, and it's not that good to actually go out and write a cool product description. It's not going to convert that well, but you
Hmm.
can take pieces and give it certain prompts and then assemble that into something that is great and amazing. That's currently something that I'm doing now to help speed up workflow as well. You know.
That's smart. That's smart. What about when it comes to like team building? Do you run your operations like pretty lean, or do you constantly hire? Like, how many people do you have on your team? What do you
Oh,
say?
so there's maximum 5 people, and then that can go up to 8 people in busy time
Mm.
periods. Sometimes more depending on like in Q4. Sometimes you need to hire extra customer service people to handle handle emails.
Mm.
But I like to keep things fairly lean. I used to like outsource things such as like product page building, video. No, sorry, not video editing. We still got a video editor for stuff, but a product researcher. And again, you can't really teach some things. And with AI now, you really can just make things a hell of a lot. You can make your life a hell of a lot more easier as well. So I personally like to keep it between 5 people, and some of the VAs that I've had working for me have been working for me ever since 2017, when I first made my first hires. So yeah,
Oh wow.
I've gone through some video in terms of like the personal branding side of things and education stuff. I've been through like multiple video editors and stuff like that, but that's probably one of the reasons that circling back to the short form is why I couldn't find someone who was just what I was looking for. Same
Yeah.
with my YouTube videos as well. I've only recently just outsourced the video editing as well. So, and he's a super cool guy. So yeah, that's just small things that first and foremost hold you back. Um, yeah, it's just one of those traits which you can't really, get rid of.
Right. That's interesting. So I also got a question, like as far as because I mean, you scale pretty big. How do you manage like happy customers? How would you say for somebody that's starting dropshipping? Because I think this is a big issue. Is like how do you make your customers happy? Like, is it in your opinion just like the product as the foundational piece of like making sure the product is just amazing?
But first and foremost, you always want to be proactive than reactive. So if you are trying to, if you're already in your head thinking about how you can, get around page scores and think about how can I minimize chargebacks and what you're thinking wrong. What you need to be thinking about is how can you actually minimize all that stuff before it even happens,
Hmm.
right? Being proactive rather than reactive. First thing comes down to obviously the product. Now, you want to make sure that, again, I do a lot less testing now because my testing criteria is a lot more strict than what it used to be previous years. Because, again, you can test a load of stuff and some stuff would work, but some stuff wouldn't work. Some stuff would work, but the product quality wasn't fantastic and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. Whereas now, again, anyone watching this who's getting into dropshipping does not need to test anything more than 3 to 5 products a week. All this testing 10 products a week, bullshit, or test 3 products a day bullshit, you'll lose money. Trust me,
Hmm.
right? So that's what I like to keep. I like to test a lot less stuff rather than just spraying bullets all over the wall because it just helps you'll test less, but you'll have a higher win rate, and that's what's
Right.
most important is how many times do you actually win. Rather than just spraying a ton of bullets all over the place.
It is. How would you recommend people, look for because I'm curious, like when it comes to your product research and just like in general what you launch, like do you tend to look for products that are more evergreen, or do you just do whatever catches your eye?
Yeah, so let me go back to the other question, and I'll answer that one as well. But
Sure.
one thing you want to do is if you're drop shipping as well, like first and foremost, you don't want to be scaling with AliExpress, right? You can use
Mm,
it, and a lot of people will always say, don't use AliExpress, use Sprocket, use blah blah blah, and all these other ones. But honestly, you can still get decent shipping times with AliExpress. They put 30 to 60 days on there because they have to save their ass, right?
mm-hmm.
But I've had some stuff which, again, just initially testing. You just want to get those first few orders, and stuff's been arriving in like 15 days max. Which, again, I've ordered stuff from the United States, from like jeans and stuff, and it doesn't get here in the UK in
Right.
15 days. But I know that I'll wait for that time because it's a quality product. People are willing to wait for a product if it's quality. Another thing is communication, right? A lot of people always just send out their confirmation email, their shipping email, and that's it. The customer
Mm-hmm.
doesn't hear from it. They just check their email. They'll get a knock on the door when the product arrives. People will get shook when they don't hear anything for an extended period of time. So you can actually reduce your customer queries by setting up like a reassurance flow. We do this all the time, and it's just basically a Klaviyo flow that you set up that just sends out an email every single week, or based off whatever your delivery times are, to say, hey, your product's on the way. Any questions, let us know. Your tracking numbers here, blah 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 blah, and that kind of stuff. And that can help out as well. So just communication and selling a good quality product will help you have happy customers.
Wow.
And sorry, what was the next
Oh,
question?
and
Sorry.
then the next question was,
Research, right?
yeah, yeah. I think I don't even remember, but that
Yeah.
was a good answer. Like the Clavio thing, I really like that. That's actually super clever because I agree, bro. Just communication is so essential. Like if you're not communicating, I mean in life in general, like with any relationship, like customer business relationship, and like a relationship with your friends, with your family, like communicate lack of communication can be really detrimental.
Yeah. So again, just setting up these small things can help, and even just small things like having like I use ReMAs for the customer service. So we use ReMAs, and you can do things like turn on autoresponders. So when someone emails in, it sends them a quick email just to say, hey, your email's been we've got your email. We will reply within 24 hours or whatever it may be. And here's a link to the FAQs. Check it out, because
Mm,
9 times out of 10, the answer will be in there. Just small communication keys that you can implement inside of your business. And if you're drop shipping from China, you can still get good quality times, providing that you've got a good shipping agent, right? You can get 15 to 10 days shipping, if if you get a good quality supplier. And then there's a lot of big brands out there that are still, they're brands. There's so many different levels to a brand, but there's a lot of drop shippers, a lot of drop shipping brands that I've seen on websites that are still drop shipping from China, but they look absolutely massive, and they're just, it's just the communication that's key. But
that's so true.
if we actually talk about product research, so yeah, if you're spam testing, anyone watching this is, if you're spam testing in 2023, you will lose money, you will burn money, you will go broke, you will not make any money. Just don't bother thinking about drop shipping. That's rule number one. Okay.
Hmm.
So my criteria for drop shipping, or finding a product, is like I have like a five step framework, and essentially it comes down to this. The first thing is you need to make sure that it's already proven, okay? When I say already proven, it's something which is already being sold somewhere. Now, you can, of course, go ahead and try and find the needle in the haystack on AliExpress to this wild, quirky product which no one else has seen, which I used to think was the thing to do when I first got
Hmm.
started. I need to sell something which no one else is selling. We don't need no competition. And that's the wrong way to think of things, because first and foremost, you're going to have to spend a lot of money to try and find that one thing that works, and trying to find that needle in a haystack. Yes, if you find it, you can be the first to market and make a ton of money, but the chances of you doing that as a beginner is very difficult. Even for an advanced person, it's very hard to do. So you want to find something which is already proven or already being sold by someone else, and they're running ads to it. Competition is a good thing. Don't be afraid of competition, okay?
Mm.
The second thing from that is, obviously, it falls into the category of that it's an actual winning product, which is just basically either something which solves a problem, which it either saves someone time, saves them money, improves their confidence, like a beauty product, etc. Or alternatively, it is something which is cool, quirky, wow, unique. And the kind of TikTok products, right? Which
Right.
like zipper things and toys and all that kind of
Yeah.
shit, right? just kind of unique. They're cool. They don't really don't really do anything, but they're cool.
Yeah, just
They're
make people
pretty
happy.
cool.
That's really it.
Yeah, they're just cool. They're just cool, unique. But what I found with that, right, is that with those kind of products, typically I find it's best if you can sell those type of products to a passionate audience. I'll give you an example. If you sell something which is I've seen so many cool, unique products, which, let's say, for example, the phone case, right? There's been phone cases which are like the privacy phone cases, right? Like, cool. And then it's like, oh shit, people can't see what if I'm looking at some crazy random shit, right? It's a cool product. But when you think about it, no one's really passionate about phone cases. Who the fuck is passionate about phone cases? Which makes it a little bit harder to sell the product. Whereas
Right.
if you sell a product which is cool and captures attention, let's say, for example, one of those spinny toys, and the passionate audience behind that is, let's say, parents, you can sell it to parents. It becomes a little bit more easier for you to sell the product. And passionate audience can be people such as, parents, hobbyists, or pet owners, pet niche. So if you can sell those kind of products paired with a cool something unique that's going to capture attention, that makes it a little bit easier to do so. So that's kind of like criteria there. The other criteria, and probably one of the most important criteria, is making sure that it has enough margin inside of it. This is so important. Like, it's so important, because there's been times when people have come to me and they said, "Hey, I was selling this product, bro, and I just can't make it work." And it's like, "Okay, cool. Let's work out the break even ROAS. What is it?" And it's like 1.9. Dude, like, even if your ad was 2xing, like, you'd be making like 5% or 10% or something ridiculous. You need to make sure that there is enough margin inside of the product. And in the US, if you're selling to the US, you want to make sure that you're kind of like at least 4x in the product, because costs are a lot more expensive. So always making sure, that's one of the other criteria, is making sure that there is enough margin inside of the product, at least a 65 to 80% gross margin inside of the product. But a simple rule of thumb, anyone watching this, 5x in the product, if you can do that. Okay. And then the final criteria is just making sure that there's some existing content out there that you can leverage if you're just doing some initial testing, because naturally it doesn't make sense for you to purchase every single product and try and film it yourself and stuff like that. So if you can leverage some sort of existing content online to at least get your first few sales, then you have the opportunity to validate the product and then go ahead and purchase it yourself, make some custom content, send it out to influencers, get people on Fiverr to do reviews, use Billo, whatever it may be, then you're good to go. So in 8 minutes, anyone watching this, apply this to any single product, and you'll find that you won't test as much, but you'll have a much higher win rate.
Love that. Thanks for that, bro. I'm gonna definitely turn that into a clip, because yeah, that's one of the things I love about these like podcasts, even though it's not really like an official podcast, is you get a lot of content out of it. But that was super valuable. That was massively valuable. That's super. Yeah, I love talking to you, because honestly, I remember the last time we talked was actually like, I mean, outside of like DMs and stuff
In LA,
in
remember
LA.
we was in there? That was crazy. That's going back
Yeah,
like
that was
3 years.
crazy.
It's insane, man.
That was
Oh,
insane, man. That was the first time meeting you, first time meeting Justin Wool, and like Tristan.
yeah,
I don't
same.
know what Tristan's up to these days, but yeah, that was super interesting. How was that experience for you? Because we didn't really talk much after that.
Yeah, so well, everyone kind of just went their own ways and kind of like
Right.
just done their own thing. But yeah, Tristan, I still speak to Tristan here and there. He was in the UK at one point. I didn't get a chance to go and see him, but yeah, he's still crushing it with brands. He's still doing his thing. Jordan's blowing up on YouTube, which is
Yeah, he really has.
absolutely amazing to see. Justin's still doing his thing, which is, again, it's amazing to see everyone still doing their own things.
Right.
And yeah, like that experience was the first time I had met yeah, so I'd met no, that was the first time I met you, and it was the first time I met Vince, I think.
Oh
I'd
yeah.
met Jordan and Justin in New York when I went to speak in New York. That was the first time I ever met those guys, and it was weird because we all kind of like just like clicked. It was like super weird, because that's how the whole event came about, because it was
Right.
like me, Vince, and Jordan and Justin, and it was like, let's just do an event, man. And we thought, you know what, cool, let's just host it in LA. We'll have this big house, we'll have cars outside, and it was super dope. And eventually we just pulled it off. So it was crazy. And I think, people should do more in person events. It's just that's a little bit more difficult
It
Because
is.
over here, there's not really that much over here happening, unfortunately, in the UK. Or maybe there is, and I'm just not invited to them. Who knows? But
Yeah,
I just
maybe.
don't know. I just don't know about them. But yeah, it's always good to connect with people in person because there's like no filter. It's just raw how it is. And even
Really, yeah.
barriers are a little bit more like on podcasts it's a bit it's also good as well, but you really can't beat the in-person interaction talking about things.
For real. Yeah, I still consider that was like probably one of the most fun event experiences that I've ever had, like point blank. I thought that was such a, like the house you guys got, just everything was
It was
so
crazy.
top notch, like just went above and beyond. Yeah, that's really interesting though. I'm curious because you mentioned there's not a lot of people in the UK, at least that you know of, that are doing things. So would you even attribute being in the right network as a part of your success? Because I think a lot of people put a huge priority on that now. And maybe it is. I don't know. I do think it matters, but how much does it matter in your opinion?
So you have two type of circles. You have your circle of your immediate friends, and then you have your circle online. And like my circle of friends were not really like entrepreneurial. They were, I got a whole mixed bunch of friends, dude. Like I've got some friends that spent time in prison. I've got friends who, who have like some like freelancers. Some are
Hmm.
like people would say normies, like just
Right,
normal
nine to
people. I've got
five
friends
people.
who like, yeah, 9 to 5 guys. I've got the guys who have got like their own little thing, side hustles going on, or they're working for themselves. They're freelance. They've got their own, they're a sole trader. I've got a whole mix of friends. But like my online circle, the first thing I done was Facebook groups back then was like the real information. Like that's
Hmm.
where people were learning about e-commerce and dropshipping. So made it like almost like an obsession to try and get in with those circles and get online and ask questions. And now obviously everything is completely evolved. So you can jump inside a Discord. I know you've got a Discord.
Hmm.
People should be active inside of the Discords, asking questions. There's a plethora of information on YouTube now, which it wasn't really back then either. So you can use and leverage all of this information. So you don't have to be, your friends don't have to be entrepreneurs, or they don't have to be doing loads of money and stuff like that. It's good when you actually acquire money, you can then obviously get into the rooms with those people, like the LA Mastermind that we've mentioned. You can
Hmm.
network with those people because you've skin in the game then, and everyone brings their own wealth of information to the point to the table that you can use. But if you're just starting out and you're flat broke and you have no money and you have nothing, then use like you could be sat in like I don't know fucking India or Mexico or something. Like get online, get inside of Discords and
Right.
just ask questions because there's so much information on there. Even Twitter now, like I didn't join Twitter until it was like a year ago, no, maybe a year or 2 years ago. And I was sleeping on Twitter big,
Yeah,
like,
same.
like, like I was like, because because like IG was popping at one point, like,
Right.
and like now, honestly, because I've been posting like now more short form content, I'm getting back into the IG side of things. But like for the past no year and a half, I've only just been focusing on Twitter because that's where all the thought thinkers are. And
Yeah.
the way I like to learn is like by reading and again connecting with people on Twitter and asking questions that way rather than someone just posting a picture on IG of their dog. Like,
Yeah.
it's cool to see it's cool to
Right.
see your dog, bro, but like,
I'm trying to learn.
just yeah, like I'm trying to learn. So it depends what you want. It's always good to flip between the both,
Yeah.
but if you're flat broke, just get online, get inside of Discords, jump inside of Twitter, follow people. Facebook groups. I haven't really been in Facebook groups in a long time, so I'm not sure really how they perform now. But my best thing would be to just jump inside of Discord groups and
Yeah.
and go from
Discord
there.
is like the
What do
new
you say?
wave. It's like the modern version of Facebook groups, even though there are a lot of Facebook groups actually that are, popping off. Facebook definitely has been putting some effort into that. That's really, I like how you mentioned though that, you don't have to cut off your friends if like they actually do provide like happiness to you, unless they're like, in my opinion, I think if they're obviously super toxic or something and like they influence you negatively more often than not, then yeah, maybe you should cut them off. But if they provide value to your life, even if they're not millionaires or whatever, like that's a very shallow way to look at people, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like on that point, Like, yeah, bro. Like, honestly, some people would jump on Twitter and it's like, oh, they're doing $10,000 a month. Like, I don't fuck with my friends no more. They don't,
Yeah,
they're holding me back. Like, they're normies. They don't get me and all this kind of stuff. It's like, dude, it's not really that deep. I mean,
it's not that deep.
if they're not toxic, bro, like, there's too much red pill shit going on. Like, and it's like some of the best times I've had in my life have been with just my normie friends, and there'll be times where I don't speak to these people like in a long like months. You know, we see each other like once every 3 months or like, but it's like we never left. And
Yeah,
these people would never ever ever snake me once. I'd rather chill with these people than have these other people who are only just focused on money who will snake you in a minute over some money. That's
yeah,
my philosophy, and that's how I like to think of things. But again, like you've mentioned, if they are toxic, if they don't want to do anything, and they drag you down, they're saying, bro, why are you always doing this? Well, X, Y, and Z. My friends have only celebrated me with my successes online. And again, if they don't essentially, if they're bringing you down or they want to go and do retarded shit where it's like, it's not going to help you achieve your goals, then yeah, it may be a questionable whereby you don't want to hang out with them or you spend less time with them, because at the end of the day, on this journey, you're going to have to make sacrifices. You'll
right.
make sacrifices for yourself, pleasure, watching Netflix, going out on weekends, drinking. Your personal relationships with your family at some point may come to a strain. Your better half, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever it may be. There's going to be times when you're going to have to make sacrifices. But all in all, I wouldn't change my friends for anyone.
That's awesome,
They're
man.
my boy.
I love that. I agree with you. I think there's too many extremes online, unfortunately, and I think it's because the internet celebrates extremeness. Like Andrew Tate, for example, like the only reason he got so famous is not because of like his positive, like takes, but it was because of the extreme takes, talking about like I wouldn't even let a woman drive me anywhere. That's what goes viral. So I think people take that and they're like, oh, like that's how I should be, like super extreme. But I don't like that either. So as far as, I mean, this is just my own personal question. So sorry, whoever's watching. I mean, maybe it'll be valuable, but what about investing? Like, are you investing your money or do you just invest back into your business?
Yeah, so I like to invest. Like you can think of dropshipping like there's two schools of thoughts with dropshipping. Like you either use it as a method to like to learn the ropes, because with dropshipping you learn how to do customer service, how to hire a team, how to run ads, how to do email marketing. You learn literally everything, and that's the beauty of it. So you can either do all that and then get to a point whereby you actually want to build a brand, where that you want to actually look to exit and sell in 5 years for maybe 7 figures. Or you got the other option whereby you use it as just a cash flow machine. You still provide a valuable store, which again you can later sell down the line. But some people either want to sell their store or just use it as a cash flow. If you want to use it as a cash flow vehicle, then cool. You can use it, and that's how I've been using it for the most part. Some smaller projects that I do have the idea of like exit at some point, but my perfectionism is like I need to do X, Y, Z, so they take a longer time to get up and running. But yeah, I like to invest. I just like to invest in like ETFs to start off with. So anyone watching this, again, just get yourself like a just put money aside and just put it into like an ETF. If you don't want to start picking random stocks that you want to that you know that you want to because dude, like I spent lost loads of money on like you know EV techs and like I forgot what they were called when they're I forgot the name of them. They were like it's like where a company takes
Oh,
other company
SPACs.
public. That was it. Yeah. So I used to invest in
Yeah.
SPACs and all that kind of
Oh
stuff when they
no.
would pop in, and like just stuff like that. So if anyone watching this, just like stick to normal like ETFs. But yeah, what I do with my money is I like to get it. I invest here and there inside of ETFs, some random stocks that I've also got as well. Crypto I've got as well. But I'm big in like real estate. I really like to
Oh
invest in
really?
real estate. Yeah. So I've got two properties at the moment in time, and that was the first ever big purchase that I kind of like made. That and my watch was like the first big purchases that I ever made. And yeah, the goal is just to keep continue to just to stack those,
Nice.
and use them as vehicles, because when you think about things like you can't if you was to drop dead tomorrow, realistically, your family can't ain't gonna run your ecom business. Like,
Right.
you know, like, you know, they're not gonna run you fucking, they're not gonna log into Shopify and try to run your shit, you know. So, yeah, I just like to have solid assets which I know are there, regardless of whatever happens to me, they're there, you know, and they're always just gonna we're just going to bring in money and yeah, just refinance them, recycle the money, put it into something else, and just continue to just compound that over time. And you can find yourself, you know, over the years, it is a slower mechanism. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
it's always good to have like a mechanism like you're doing trading, drop shipping, whatever it may be, to have sales, you know, so that you've got that, you can acquire money and cash flow quickly and then put it into those long-term assets. That's how I like to do things.
Yeah, I like that approach. Just like brick by brick, build your wealth. But that was a really interesting analogy you made. It's like, if I drop dead tomorrow, what's my family's not gonna run my ecom business, right? Like, that's a good way to look at it. So, would you say the idea of passive income in e-commerce is basically like fugazi, or you think it's like real?
No, so there's no such thing as passive income. Like people need to understand this. Like passive income is not like it doesn't. It's not real. It's like like there will always be an element of work. Like any guru who is telling you that dropshipping is this way to make passive income, laptop lifestyle, take it on here. You can only work 3 hours a day, etc. Like, dude, run as far away from those people as possible, because the reality is it doesn't work like that. There will
Mm-hmm.
always be fires that you have to put out, and that's the beauty of the game, right? In terms of like housing and stuff like that, it's a little more passive, but you still have to deal with things. Like, for example, there's things that I have to deal with my house, even though it's out with a letting agent and they handle most of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's still small things that they get in contact with me. Well, it's not actually me, but it's me and my old man, because like he's really good with his hands, like fixing shit and all that kind of stuff. He kind of
Oh,
done all
that's
that stuff.
nice.
So it's kind of a
That's
blessing
convenient.
to have him. Yeah, have him in my corner. But they still email read me, right? So I'm
Right.
still having to deal with things here and there. So it's never really passive. There's never really anything that's completely passive. The probably only really true passive thing that you can do is like affiliate marketing, whereby you have links here, there, and everywhere, and just have money coming in there and there. But that's the only realistically thing that you can get to passive. But ecom, it's never really going to be passive. Trust me.
Yeah, and even affiliate marketing, it's not really passive because like you need some sort of audience to be plugging
Traffic.
that
Yeah,
into.
exactly.
So yeah, I agree. Maybe like in like dividend investing could be like passive, I guess, if you have enough money to do
Yeah,
that. But it's not going to be meaningful unless you have like 10 million in there invested. Um,
exactly. Yeah.
but that's pretty cool. So I mean, we can start wrapping this up. I know it's probably late over there and you're probably getting tired, but this has been really cool. I mean, we've talked before, like I mentioned, but it's been nice to be able to like this is a good excuse to ask my friends questions that like I've always wanted to ask. So that's awesome. As far as like uh, investing, you said you just like to invest, and then you don't really do trading or anything like that. You're just kind of parking money in different places, right?
Yeah, so not really on the whole trading side of things, because it's like another thing that I need to learn, which then obviously takes me away from, like, I've realized over the years that I only have a limited amount of time in a day, and I
Mm-hmm.
still to this day overestimate how much I can achieve within a day, and even still stretch myself too far. So trying to like learn a whole new skill of trading. Don't get me wrong, I've looked into it and like, looked into options and all that kind of shit, but to be honest, I gotta know where my strengths are, and I can't spend the time learning a whole new skill in how to trade and how to buy options. And I mean, I know how to do it, but I then have to sit down and look at the charts and all that kind of shit. So
Right.
it's not personally something that I want to essentially dedicate a lot of time to. So yeah, I
That's
don't really
smart.
bother with the day trading,
I feel the
just
same
investing.
way. And honestly, like whenever I'm pretty bad at it because of that reason, like every time I've tried it, it's like I don't put the time in to actually master that skill or like become,
Mm.
an expert at it. So it's almost not worth it. Um, what would you say when it comes to like your real estate investments? Why did you want to get into that?
So that was something that my dad kind of like not pushed me, but like helped me into,
Mm,
if that makes sense.
yeah.
And it's because like his dad, my grandfather, who's no longer here, told him to buy houses. And back then they were super, super cheap. And he was like, no, 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 I ain't worried about all that. I want to buy, cars and jewelry and stuff like that. And to this day, obviously, he regrets it because, you know, back then they were literally next to nothing. But
Right.
it was just one of those things that he kind of like pushed me into, and forever grateful for it because you learn so much going through. Because I think you've got one as well, right? If I remember
I
correctly, if
do.
you
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So you learn so much, and this is something that you don't actually learn in school, and it's a shame. And this is the reason why the school system's broke because you don't learn the real life skills that you need in the real life if you actually want to be an entrepreneur and actually want to be financially independent. You don't learn those skills because naturally they teach you just to be a cog in the system. And this is coming from someone who actually went to university. I do have a degree, and it's like they just teach you to be like another cog in the wheel, and
Right.
that you don't learn about that much about taxes. You don't learn about how to leverage credit cards. You don't even learn how to buy a house. You don't know about how the whole mortgage system works. You don't learn any of that, and you have to go through it to be able to get those skills. And this is why it's one of those important things to learn because then what you can do is you can pass those things down onto your children, leave them with the assets that you've obviously acquired over the years and pass this information down onto your children,
Hmm.
and help them just become better people. So yeah, that's kind of like how I got into it, which I recommend anyone who's, and I know there's a few of the guys who are doing it as well, and it's always good to acquire the money, just park it in physical assets that are just there.
Yeah, that's pretty good advice, honestly. I will say, just because inflation is crazy, and I feel like if you have the money sitting there too, that can be dangerous. It may just push you to spend it on stupid shit. Um,
Mm.
so what are some last pieces of advice that you would give to people? Just anybody watching right now. I'm sure there's all ranges of people watching, but what would be your last piece of advice?
Yeah, so first thing I would say is I don't want to say the whole cliche like never give up kind of bullshit because everyone kind of does that kind of like rah rah stuff. But
Hmm.
ultimately, you have to. The way I see things is that a lot of people come to me and they first and foremost overestimate where they need to go. So they'll start asking questions like, "How do I do X, Y, and Z?" And it's like, "Okay, cool. Have you, or, what's your website?" It's like, "Oh, no, I haven't got on my website yet." It's like focus on the next step. If the next step is register a goddamn domain, register a goddamn domain, right? That's what the one thing they first need to do. The second thing where most people fail is they don't learn from their mistakes. Okay, so the only way you're going to be able to get better at anything is by learning from your mistakes. And if you can't learn from your mistakes, then you'll never be able to make it. Right. So your second thing is making sure that you can learn from your mistakes. Another thing is obviously believing that you can actually achieve stuff because it's insane to me because like on TikTok I see some of the comments and not so much on my stuff but on other people's stuff and it's like 90% of people, if you're not like on Money Twitter or you're not on YouTube, like 90% of people can't fathom making 10K a month. Like they really can't. They think it's something which is absolutely impossible to do. And it baffles me because if you can't actually picture yourself making that amount of money, then you're never going to be able to do it. You just physically can't, right?
Yeah.
You can't do it. So you have to have that belief, and no matter what, you have to always realize that you can do something when you put your mind to it. And the final thing, obviously, is like I mentioned, just take action. Like, don't stop thinking about shit which is, you know, 10, 13 steps ahead of you. Just focus on registering your domain. If it's e-commerce you want to get into, then get your fucking goddamn domain. Get some products online, test and learn from that, and just actually jump inside the water because that's the only way you can really learn to swim is by, jump inside of the water.
Love that. Wow. Well, thanks, man. Honestly, it was so inspiring for me to hear that you're still out there in the trenches, just continuing to grind away at your axe. Your axe being like your e-commerce
And
skill.
keep building.
That's amazing, bro. That's super inspiring. It's a great reminder for myself and hopefully others as well, because hopefully there's others out there watching that have probably been in the game for a while too. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna link all this stuff in the description, but is there anywhere that you want people to go, follow you at or find you?
No, I mean, my my hashtag is, well, not hashtag, my username is Beast of Ecom on all platforms. So, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram,
Nice
TikTok,
and
just
easy.
Beast of Ecom. Yeah, and you'll see. I think that's one of the reasons why I actually went through that, because what I like to do, again, being a perfectionist, is making sure that it's available on everything. So I had to make sure that the domain was there, all of the socials were there as well. So
Wow.
so yeah, easy to find me, Beast of Ecom.
Amazing. All right. Thanks a lot, Harry. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, my dude.
It's nice
Take care,
talking,
man.
man. Peace.